what Matsuno's trying to do with this game is he's trying to paint a picture. He's trying to paint a picture of reality, of the world, of politics, of relations in the world. He's trying to show how this stuff happens and how even if you have the best of intentions, you are going to make so many enemies and you are going to do so many wrong things that you had no idea were the wrong things to do at the time. And you're going to do a ton of right things that you thought you were taking a risk on, or that you thought maybe this isn't the right thing to do. But when you do it, you realize later you're gonna listen to people's advice, and they're gonna be good guys. You're gonna listen to people's advice, and they're gonna stab you in the back. This is how the world works everywhere, and it's very difficult, I think, for people to predict how things are going to end up or who's going to be trustworthy or not. Especially on the world stage, different cultures, different countries, different people, different languages, all of this stuff. And this game is doing a very good job, I think, of portraying that in a condensed form.
Yeah.
And it's very different from anything else Matsuno's done in terms of the roots and the way that the characters behave in those roots.
Yeah.
But I think it's very good in terms of the overall picture. So I'm starting to really like this game.
Welcome back to the State of the Arc podcast. My name is Mike.
My name's Kason.
We are here once again with Ivan. How are you, Ivan?
Oh.
We're going to talk about Tactics Ogre again. We are doing Chapter 2 today. And this is, well, might as well just call it chaotic because both the chaotic and neutral routes are the same in Chapter 2. It's not until a choice made at the end of this chapter that they will split. Which we are moving into next time, neutral Chapter 3. So that's the plan as for what we're playing the first time. We were just talking before we started the podcast, and Ivan's telling us that he's leading us to the worst ending first. The worst ending first. So the things will only be going uphill from here, according to him.
We'll get a nice crescendo.
Yes, exactly. Let's go ahead and read the narration for the beginning of Chapter 2, having made our choice last time, which was to stop this madness.
Stop this madness, yeah.
3 weeks have passed since the massacre at Balmamusa. The tragedy was as flint to the fire, the Wallister bringing them together as never before and inspiring to action those Galgastani who bore no love for Batos. Soon the Galgastani had split into two camps, placing Hierophant Batos in a most precarious position. Batos essayed to silence the voices of dissent, but as cities began to fall to the Duke's resistance, he was obliged to retreat to the safety of his keep in Karatane. As Galgastan faltered, more joined the Wallister resistance until the rebel ranks had grown to fully threefold their former number. It seemed only a matter of days before Batos would be brought before his own walls to answer for what he had done. As for Denham, though the Duke, through the Duke's scheming, he has been named a mastermind of the massacre and a price put on his head. Resistance fighters and headhunters alike scour the high roads for him, while Denham finds temporary solace in the port town of Ashton. So,
this was all narrated by Kachua.
Yes, I've been noticing that.
Yeah,
she's the one narrating the story, which is an interesting thing to consider.
It sure is.
As far as guessing where this might be going. Well, from what we learn in Chapter 3, which I won't talk about today, I guess it makes some sense. So we have a scene here. This is, it seems like the death of Ravnus here. So she's kind of she's like on a deathbed, it seems. I heard about another culling. Denham says, just those who bear steel against Batos, the nobility backing them lost their heads as well. Half of Galgastan now flocks to the resistance. And she says, just as the Duke had planned. But at the end of this scene, she ends up dying.
So I didn't get that scene.
Yeah,
cool.
What is the trigger for this? Because I don't think
Well, she has to survive the battle, I think.
Oh, but
right?
No.
No, because
sorry.
she gets shot at the end of this choice, no matter what. It's a Vice shoots her.
Maybe I did see it. I don't have a note on it though.
So what is the trigger for this? Because I don't think I saw this either.
Like I told you guys, you have to read the Warren Report, and it's under the tidings section. There's another scene in this chapter where this happens, which is
Gotcha.
Execution of Batos. You wouldn't see that scene unless you were checking the Warren Report.
Okay.
So
the trigger is just to start the chapter.
Entire scenes are not played through the course of the story. You can only find them in the Warren Report.
This one is so weird because Denim is in this one. There's another scene in a different route that does the same thing. You have to be checking the Warren Report because occasionally they will sneak a scene in there that's like not in the main plot.
Yeah, I mean I saw the one where Batos is executed, but I didn't see this one. So I was looking at this in the script and I was like, wait a minute, when did this happen?
Yeah, I don't remember that.
It's under tidings, under Ravnus's last words.
Of course.
It's somewhere in the middle of the tidings under chapter 2. If you go in the Warren Report, you'll see it.
Got it. Anyways, after that scene, which I was kind of surprised about, I'm guessing you basically can only recruit this character in the law route then?
Yes.
I was surprised that they would have her die like this early, particularly with the feelings about the betrayal that she had and everything like that. She doesn't get to take a part in that story at all when it goes this way. Only if Denim... But because I guess the difference is if Denim decides to stay with the Duke, then Vice goes with her.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't shoot her in that timeline. But in this one, she ends up getting shot by Vice, and so therefore is not around.
Well, I look forward to getting to know her character better in a future route.
So they're in Port Ashton.
Yep, they're chilling. The false flag massacre worked. That's why governments do that kind of thing.
Yes.
And Denim was blamed for the whole massacre. So Kachua, she wants to leave with Denim. She's like, let's run away and never come back. And Denim is pretty fixed on revenge. That's like his whole thing. Like, but if we run away, then who's going to avenge my dad? Like,
right.
And, hollow sounding words to me, but in his position, I mean, especially at his age, being a young man, being like, hey, nobody crosses my family, I can see a response like that. And Kachua's trying to pull him away, but he's like, no. Vengeance is what must be done here.
Yeah, and I'm not on top of that in this world. I don't know how many times I've heard this now.
I know everyone's motivated by revenge. Everyone in this whole game, everyone we fight.
It's an honor-bound thing. It's like You even later on, like some Galgastani soldiers that you end up executing say this, like, tell my family that they need to avenge me. Yeah, so like,
it's crazy.
It's a thing in this world, and it makes sense. Like
it does, especially in like an older time period. But there's also this. I kind of mentioned it last time. Like, hey, I'm sure we're going to meet somebody who's like, hey, you killed so and so, and we'll give a similar response to what One-Eyed Lance gave us when he's like, that thing in the town where you're sorry about that. Basically we do that. It's like 5 or 6 different times that happens where it's like, you killed my sister, you killed my brother, you killed my mother, you killed my son, you killed my father. And it's like, well, because we're killing tons of people. Yeah. And so I actually kind of like that it keeps happening. But I do find it very interesting that everybody is motivated by revenge. Yep. Once somebody dies, it's like your life's calling to then kill them back. And even if you die in the process, it is noble.
Well, it's just kind of the nature of conflicts of this kind, too.
Yes. Well, there's some.
We're going to strike back because of the atrocity you committed against us.
Yeah.
And then it has to be. Then it just goes back and forth until nobody remembers.
Nobody knows how it started,
or how it started, or who started it, or why it started. They just know, I've been raised to hate you, and so I have to kill you.
Like a lot of gang fights kind of start this way too,
and violence is this way.
It's just tit for tat forever, literally forever.
Yeah, it never stops.
Yeah.
But the gist of this scene is Canopus arrives as we're kind of depressed.
Yeah.
Cashua wants to leave.
Yeah.
Denim wants to avenge his father.
Get
and
revenge.
Clear his name.
Yeah.
And I there's some really good lines here.
Yeah.
That I felt like really set up for me where the story's going thematically. Like if you look at it under the lens of what Canopus says here, it's basically kind of like making the thematic statement of the game.
Yeah.
So Canopus says, as the Duke grows more impatient, you grow more valuable, up to 30,000 Goth now.
Yeah.
So Denim is reading a scroll that's like his warrant or whatever.
Yeah.
Cashua says, salt in our wounds, we are criminals before all the world. And Canopus says, justice and war seldom keep company. That line right there might as well be like the thematic statement of the game.
like that, actually. Justice and war seldom keep company.
In the heat of battle, all are criminal and all are innocent. Only later does the victor decide who is which. That's the way of the world. So,
that's right.
Back in the first episode, we were talking about, sort of the thematic premise of the game. It's about conflicts and how conflicts are resolved.
Yeah.
And we were wondering, is he going to... And I was like, no, I think what he's going to try to do is make a statement about his observation of how conflicts of this kind
not
of resolve.
His recommendation.
Not a like some sort of moral statement about how should they or how ought they be resolved. And I think Canopus pretty much in that one, it's a couple lines, but he basically states it right there. So I'll read it again, because I think if you're looking at the game under this lens, you're going to basically get what he's going for. Justice and war seldom keep company. So there is no justice in war. Justice and war do not coincide. In the heat of battle, all are criminal and all are innocent. And both of those things can be true.
Yes, absolutely.
Only later does the victor decide who is which. That's the way of the world. I thought that was excellent. Excellently put. It's succinct and it's really quite profound and true.
It is. And I like that you're identifying it as the theme for this game in particular, because as this game is full of choice and lots of different options that we can make that lead to different consequences, those consequences bear out in this way. We become both the victim and what was the other word? The aggressor.
The innocent and the criminal.
The innocent and the criminal.
Yeah.
The world can be put to rights. Yeah.
Oh,
that's
right.
This one.
Yeah, this is specifically Chaos Route. Chapter 2 is called this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I really like that you identified that as the theme, because as it comes to choices and as it comes to, whether or not you made the right choice, right? You can make what you consider to be a good choice that ends up being putting innocent lives in danger because of your choice. Or you can make what on its face seems to be a bad choice, and it ends up having results that others would say were a net positive, right. For everybody. And in that way, in many different ways, through all the choices that you can make throughout this game, you end up seeing both sides of that. And I really do like what Matsuno's done here.
Yeah.
It threw me for a loop at first. It got me, I was very confused when I'm making these choices, and I'm like, wait, but how does the story go? Which one's the story? Like, how is this going to affect the story? And that the characters are different and all of this stuff. But choices you make have consequences, and you cannot predict those consequences, especially in war and especially in a complex situation.
Yeah.
And so, kind of, as we play this game, as I'm kind of experiencing all of these different things and seeing how, the different routes work and the different characters work, I'm starting to realize that what Matsuno's trying to do with this game is he's trying to paint a picture. He's trying to paint a picture of reality, of the world, of politics, of relations in the world. He's trying to show how this stuff happens and how even if you have the best of intentions, you are going to make so many enemies and you are going to do so many wrong things that you had no idea were the wrong things to do at the time. And you're going to do a ton of right things that you thought you were taking a risk on, or that you thought maybe this isn't the right thing to do. But when you do it, you realize later you're gonna listen to people's advice, and they're gonna be good guys. You're gonna listen to people's advice, and they're gonna stab you in the back. This is how the world works everywhere, and it's very difficult, I think, for people to predict how things are going to end up or who's going to be trustworthy or not, especially on the world stage. Different cultures, different countries, different people, different languages, all of this stuff. And this game is doing a very good job, I think, of portraying that in a condensed form.
Yeah.
And it's very different from anything else Matsuno's done in terms of the roots and the way that the characters behave in those roots.
Yeah.
But I think it's very good in terms of the overall picture. So I'm starting to really like this game.
Yeah, I
like a lot.
We were talking about this while we were on the way here.
No.
And we were, kind of discussing how basically no matter which choice you make, you're going to get into these dialogues with characters who will make this case about how what you did was selfishly driven, how you did was wrong or evil for whatever reason.
You don't care, you're bad, all that.
And this is something that I feel is a strength of Matsuno's writing across all of his games, is he's really good at basically these sort of these like debate type scenarios where you've got your adversary or the main character's foil or whatever making a case against, justifying what they did and vilifying what you did, and making cases that you could look at that and really understand that perspective. He's typically very good at that. And so, regardless of the choice that you make, anywhere in this game, there's going to be a character kind of coming at you from that other angle and sort of exposing all of these ways in which see what you did was actually wrong. Right?
Either way.
I don't think it's perfect in every circumstance, and we'll get to those as we go.
Yeah,
but generally,
than others.
He's pretty good at that.
Yeah.
And that's because, particularly in wartime situations, there are a number of choices that come up, and there really isn't a right choice. You're going to hurt somebody.
Right.
Which is why war is such an evil thing. Like, there's another line that'll come up later, so maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but it's the innocent who suffer in war.
Right.
It's the people who, those in power are apparently fighting for, that ultimately are the ones that pay the heaviest price. And so, in this sort of game that they play, they're basically just making choices about which innocent people are going to pay the heaviest price for some sort of ends.
Yep.
And there's a game of mental gymnastics played in which you justify the ends to reach
to
those
yourself
means.
And to your people. You have to justify it. There's multiple steps of justification. And what is it? Have you seen Troy with Brad Pitt from like 15 years ago? Sean Bean's in that movie. He plays Odysseus. And there's a line from him that I've never forgotten because it always stuck with me. But he says, war is old men talking and young men dying.
Yeah, right.
That's what war is.
Yes.
You've got the inexperienced, who are sacrificed so that the elderly can continue.
That's kind of where I'm going to be focusing, I guess, a lot of the dialogue I pick out and the lines that stuck out to me.
I think that's a good filter.
They were all kind of like filing back into that sort of point made by Canopus here.
Yeah.
Like everything kind of comes back to that central point.
Well, the next line that Denim says after what you had read from earlier on, I think from Canopus, right? He says, well then, since I lost, since I failed, I am a criminal.
Yeah.
And that's how it goes. If, what'd you call it, 1776 in America? If the whole revolution didn't work out, those guys are terrorists.
Right,
those guys are criminals. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton, they are terrorists and they are absolute criminals, and we would be having a totally different conversation today.
Yeah, I remember I had a conversation like this with my parents a few years back. It was like during a lot of the riots and protesting that was going on, say like 2020, I think it was. And, you know, they were sort of talking about how like, oh my gosh, like this is so terrible and crazy and like what's wrong with people. And I was like, this is exactly the behavior of
who wins
the people of the Boston Tea Party and
totally
things like that.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Like they would have been saying, the British would have been saying similar things about this. And again, it's whoever wins decides what was justified or
whoever
what
holds power.
So anyway,
so interesting.
Basically, that I just agreeing with what you're saying there about that. But Canopus then says all the more reason to be on the winning side, right?
There you go.
Enough navel gazing. We need to go. So he basically comes in and says, we need to head to Tynemouth Hill. That's I've received word that's where Hamilton Lancelot, the Holy Knight Lancelot, is. And so the plan here is, well, let's go to him. He'll help.
Yeah,
me,
Cutcher thinks
right?
he'll help out.
Yeah. And Denham had, you know, kind of a nice moment with him, so he feels like, you know, he's a just person. If we go there, you know, maybe he can help us.
Hey, nobody shows their dead wife's jukebox to just anybody. Right, music box, whatever it is. That's like, you're tight, you know?
Yeah,
you're close.
So the first battle you then come into after this, there is a new character introduced.
Argyle?
Arcel?
Oh, I wrote it down wrong.
Arcel.
Oh, yeah, Arcyle.
Arcel.
Arcel.
Arcel. Her old name used to be much worse. It was a loser.
What?
Wait, spell that.
A loser.
A-L-O-S-E-R?
A-L-O-S-E-R.
What?
Autoseru.
From the Lesser Key of Solomon, the
Ars Geisha? Yeah.
Got it.
Oh, interesting. Oh, looser. Loose. To bind in heaven and to loose in heaven.
That is actually the name that is more accurate, and they changed it to Aracel because of, it's a loser. Like, you can't take it.
That's hilarious, man. I love that. I love that stuff.
Well, she is a loser of this battle and many others against us.
She's a recurring antagonist here.
But, so she had a brother who was at
Balmamusa, yeah.
So she's here on a personal vendetta.
Yep.
I must avenge my brother. This is first of many instances,
what is
like
it?
we said.
Draw the sword. My name is Arcil. You kill my brother. Prepare to die.
Yeah, exactly. So Denham tries to appeal to her over the next several times we encounter her. This did not happen this way. It was Leonard who did it. The Duke commanded it. I refused to do it. And she's like, no, I need more proof. I don't believe
well,
you.
in her defense, that is what someone who did it would say. So, you know, you can't really...
I mean, I was just thinking about this. I've been thinking about this a lot lately for reasons I won't get into right now, basically due to where I work. But so many people today think that they know what happened based on what they call research, which is basically just reports made by more people who weren't there, who are basing it on a secondhand account or whatever. So they think that they are well researched and that they understand exactly what happened and how and why and who was involved and
who's lying.
They've got it all figured out. They know,
of course,
what's going on, and. From someone on the inside who actually understands, but it takes longer to actually come, for the truth to come. Anyways, the point is, I have come to this conclusion that people really don't know at all what they're talking about, like 95% of the time.
Yes, I think that's true. And
it would be even worse in an era like this where there are no cameras or audio recordings or anything like that. Now it's getting to the point where those things could be manipulated anyways.
It's true, but also the reason why we're... so that kind of talk used to be confined to like the bar in the evening time, and the townspeople would just like... everybody would like go to the bar in the evening and people would just start like talking trash, and that's just. But now the kind of the locus for all of those types of interactions are online now. So in a place where it's not just the 3 people closest to you who are hearing you, it's millions of people all over the world.
Yes.
And so that's that's one of the negative effects of social media right there. It takes what would otherwise be just people just like venting their grievances and, saying this or that about, these people, screw that guy, I hate that guy. And it's like, you didn't ever want that guy to ever hear that, right? And, but now on the internet, it's like, it's going right to him. It's going to everybody. Everyone knows that you think that of that guy now.
Yeah.
And moments of weakness or ignorance or any of that stuff are just broadcast to the whole world now. And that's just one of the unforeseen consequences of social media, I think.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's so hard to decipher like what is actually true, and even when you do, it almost doesn't matter. It's almost like the point of what this game is getting at, because you can, based on your own moral compass, your own principles, your own religious beliefs, your own whatever, mental gymnastics your way through the facts to arrive at a conclusion.
Oh, yeah.
And it gets to the point where the waters are so poisoned and muddy that there is basically no right answer anymore. It's so frustrating. It has been like the most frustrating thing on earth for me.
Because everyone you talk to has an opinion.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And they think that they know. They think they've got it all figured out.
But no one's told them that they don't. Right?
And it's anyway. It struck me, just as somebody who's been thinking about this recently.
I've been in a similar spot.
Trying to like imagine in like a medieval time period like this, how much harder it would be to try to figure out what the truth was.
Can I add something here? At the same time, people's beliefs in those times were much stronger. They were much more sure than we are now about
it's true. It's true.
What's going on in the universe.
Oh,
so their convictions were much stronger.
Yep.
So anyway, she is convinced that this wasn't the case, because in her world, in her perception of reality, Leonard could not have done that.
Oh, and
he's not the type of person who would have done that.
We find out later why she thinks that. But yes, as it turns out, she doesn't know Leonard as well as maybe she thought she did. Yeah.
Right. So it takes a while to sort of convince her.
Yeah, it takes us killing all of her people in her battalion like 5 times.
That's a bit of a stretch, but yes.
That's a bit much. Well, she's got like 8 people with her. We basically kill all of them.
So,
then she goes and gets 8 more, and then we fight her again.
Because Denham lets her go at the end of this battle. And
well,
she's like,
I think
you'll live to regret this.
Is that a choice? Because I chose that. But...
Well, she only fight her once, but she's in another battle after this where she's against some other people. You kill them and help her.
Okay. Yeah. Then I'm wrong. We don't keep killing all of her.
No. At that point, she's then too weary to flee, and so she sort of surrenders herself. And then you're like, okay, you're.
But she still doesn't believe us.
No, she still says like, I need greater proof than this. Right.
Source. He doesn't have a good enough source.
But Denham basically says, well, here's the deal. Like, you'll come with us.
I won't
but
kill
like
you.
You're not a hostage, right? Like we're gonna go to Tynemouth Hill. That's where we're going. And like, I think you'll see the truth in time. If not, then you can kill me, whatever. Right? So they get there, and this was bad info that Vice had leaked, made sure that Canopus got wind of this, that Hamilton was going to be here, and
was going to be there. Yeah,
it was all a trap so that Vice could take out
Denham.
Which,
himself. By the way, Kachua is the one who told us not to go with Arsila, right? Kachua was saying, no, don't help her. But Denham says, I will live with no more regrets, right? And we decide to let her into our party.
Oh, right, yeah.
But Kachua was telling us no. What's that, Ivan?
Go ahead, Ivan.
Yeah, can we go back a bit? We also meet Zapan before we meet up with Aracel a second time.
Who's that?
Zapan is the
the ex Zapan.
He's like the
Hungarian.
the mercenary guy who
fights against us.
Who keeps like I don't know, teasing's not the right word, but
there's lots of recurring
Accosting.
accosting. There you go, Kashua.
That's right. Yeah.
And being like, well, I'll kill everyone except you. You can come with me. And,
Yeah.
Making veiled threats and that sort of.
Yeah, so
not
cool.
not
Just
veiled,
make a note.
actually.
Not failed.
But
direct threats.
But anyway, we fight him several times through the game. But yeah. I don't have a ton to say about this character.
Me neither.
He's kind of a small player in the
it's
whole
worth
thing.
noting he's there because we'll meet him again later.
Just note him that he's there because we'll meet him again.
Perfect.
Yeah, several times.
So during this second battle, when Arcele?
Aracel.
Yeah. When we
Aracel.
meet with Aracel, there's some mid-battle words that kind of get thrown back and forth, and this is where we learn that she loved Leonar. She doesn't just like know of him. She's not just believing government propaganda because it's what the government said. She knows him personally, and she
That's her boyfriend.
Yes, there you go. We'll put it that way. They are in love, or at least one side is in love, and she does not want to believe that it was him who committed the massacre. So I think it's the priest, though. It's the priest who's with us.
Yeah,
who ultimately is like, hey, look, I swear to the highest god Fallheimer. What's his name?
Philaha.
And she's like, hey, that doesn't do it for me, man. I don't care about your god. But it's interesting that you all seem to... there's more voices, more witnesses that are kind of conveying to her this fact, and she'll, it kind of softens her up a little bit.
Yeah. There's actually a number of times...
personal friends.
Go ahead, Ivan.
He was personal friends with Leonard, so...
so he had a relationship.
Oh, that's right.
Leonard.
That's right. And she knew that. And she knew that they knew each other. That's right. That carried more weight than his promise.
Yeah. But it's not until... basically Vice just comes out and says it that she
that's what
really comes around on this, right?
And his portrait, man, it's just every time I see it, it's just like,
it's like getting worse.
Hey everyone, this guy's evil and screwed up and crazy. It does keep getting worse as we keep seeing him.
I loved
I love it.
We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. Yeah, but his portrait does keep getting worse.
It gets like more and more jacked as the game goes on.
Yeah, he took a dark path, and it's visually evident.
Yeah. Let's see. Do we want to talk at all about the Lake Bordeaux? This is just a battle against some Galgastani. I don't think there's really much to talk about with that one. So we can basically just go straight to Vice, I think.
Yeah, my notes are Vice.
Yeah.
Well, they were honor-bound to fight. That's the note there. That they met each other on the way. They didn't really have a conflict, but they're Galgastani, we're Wallister. We got to fight each other. They're very frank about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very rare.
Actually, no, there is some stuff I wanted to talk about. You just brought it to my mind. We're honor-bound to fight, I think is what the line was.
And vengeance.
If it's not here, then it was for one later. There's a Galgastani woman later who says something very similar, but
vengeance is also an honor-bound kind of thing, right? If one of your loved ones dies, you are honor-bound to avenge them.
Yeah,
you have no choice.
So maybe it's not this one. Maybe it's later. But this is worth.
The Valkyrie married to the pirate.
I think so. But
the pirate.
No, not her. There's another one even later, I think. But I do think there's something to talk about here. So the character's name is Genzo. He's the captain or whatever this particular party of Galgastani. And he's like, "Oh, weren't you the one who like framed us for having like slaughtered those people? Like, screw you." And Denham's like, "Whatever. No, it wasn't us."
Yeah.
And Aracel's like, even your own people don't believe that. Like, good luck convincing Galgastani.
That's right. I remember.
And it doesn't matter anyways, right? Yeah. Let's see. What hope have you of convincing this crowd of your innocence? And the fact remains they are Galgastani and we are Wallister. We are honor-bound to fight.
Yeah.
So even if you could convince them that you didn't do it, it doesn't matter. We have to fight anyway.
You're
There's
still
no
enemies.
point
Yeah.
in trying to convince them you didn't do this.
It's like, oh, let's play
And-
checkers now. Hooray! We don't have to fight.
And
Nope.
Genzo says, it's as the lady says. They just accept this.
Yeah.
I care nothing for the bounty on your heads, so I don't care that you did that.
Because he's honor bound. He's not doing it for money.
No.
It's just his duty. Yeah.
One Wallister is as much like another, only good to me dead.
Yep.
That I think that's a
Oh,
really
jeez.
strong line. And it goes
totally.
to show sort of like at least part again pointing back to that theme we're talking about here, where it's like you kind of have just forgotten at this point like who made the first offense. It almost
Right.
doesn't matter. These people are
Yeah.
they're just trained to hate from birth.
Yep.
This is the way, these kind of ethnic conflicts, the way that they go. It doesn't matter what it doesn't matter what they did or you did as far as it pertains to your own life or your own lifetime or like this individual. They're not being looked at as individuals. I'm having a hard time making the point I'm trying to get to in my head. We're not looked at as individuals in the scene.
Right.
We are only looked at as a part of the tribe Wallister and a part of the tribe Galgastani.
Yes.
Enemy
so
distinction.
what you have done, your life story is irrelevant
Right.
in this. All of you have to die, no matter what. And it's just it's wild, and on a smaller scale, you see that all the time. Though it doesn't go to the point of I have to go out and kill these people who are arguing with me on the internet, but I see it all the time in smaller conflicts all around me. People are not looking at an individual; they're looking at an adversary who is part of this enemy tribe.
Yeah.
And so therefore I'm not going to consider it's just people are trained not to look at individuals.
Yeah, totally.
They're trained to look only at a box at which we put individuals into.
Yes, but I would say the one doing the training is nature, at least in a part, is evolution in general. It's the way that animals and humans have evolved. I wouldn't say it's necessarily taught. I would say it's kind of like the default state, right? Which is like I have dogs.
War of all versus
If somebody shows up in my house that's not like us, the dogs bark because that's the categories. It's my pack, and then it's everything else that's not part of my pack. What is taught is to overcome that.
Throughout nature, it's usually you fight the enemy tribe. You can only trust the people around you. You can't really go very far because you don't have a buddy that'll save you. So you kind of naturally
you don't
are
have
trained
anyone you
to be
can trust.
tribalistic just to survive.
Well, here's the idea. So let's say there was a species that evolved and just trusted everyone.
Oh, sure.
To be dead.
They die. Let's say you're a species that evolved and you don't trust anyone except for these specific people who look just like you and who you grew up around. Probably going to survive until you reach some global where we're at today, which is like, okay.
Yeah, I think
it's different today,
the
right?
point is that particular natural inclination is no longer necessary for survival the way that it once was.
In fact, it becomes a hurdle to be overcome, in which, like, once you have nuclear bombs, all of a sudden these little petty tribal conflicts of you're different from me become like, wait, we're going to be extinct now. So all of a sudden trust becomes a much more important thing. How does evolution have time to like catch up to this, you know?
Sure. Anyway, that was all I wanted to say from the Genzo battle. Now to Vice.
Yeah, that was good.
Which, there's some good dialogue here. We're starting to get a little bit of a better picture of, like, last time we had talked about Vice. I don't understand why they're friends with Vice.
Oh, yeah, because we never got any scenes of... Yeah.
He doesn't act like a friend at any point.
Right. He seems to really have genuine like concern for Vice, right? As soon as he sees Vice, he's
Kashua
like, "Hey,
and Denim
Vice,
do.
let's be friends again." Yes, that's what
Yeah.
I'm referring to. Yeah, Vice is just a psychopath, I suppose, and was the whole time. It was just faking it, maybe. But on Denim's side, he seems to have a legit friendship. However, we never really got to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Denim believes or feels some kind of bond to Vice.
Yeah.
But as we're going to learn more and more and more going forward, Vice never felt that way about Denim.
Apparently, he never did. Yeah.
And well, there's a line later where he's like, "Did I really hide it so well?" And my out loud reaction was, "No, you didn't at all."
Denim. Yeah,
I think that's kind of the dynamic that was they were attempting to set up with this is that Vice pretended all along to be friends, but he's always from the beginning been jealous, and so you look at it this way: Denim ends up being kind of the leader.
Right.
Of this they're knighted, and he's the one who's like leading them into battle. He's the one giving the commands.
Yeah.
He's the one touted as the hero of Goliath. I guess all three of them were, but like it's really him.
Yeah, it's mostly him.
It's his face.
Yeah.
He was the face of that sort of like victory, not Vice.
Right.
And this is one on a pile of sort of quote unquote offenses. To Vice, where it's like, well, Denim is always the one who's venerated. He's always the one who's respected. He's always the one who's coming out on top, and I'm always like in his shadow, kind of a thing. And he's always resented him for that reason. So he's beginning to reveal some of these feelings. So let's read some of the dialogue here, because it is really good. Denim says, "What are you doing here, Vice? Where's Lancelot?" Vice says, "All these years and still you surprise me. I did not think false whispers would lure you so easily. Your Zenobian's not here. No doubt he's in Rhyme by now, deep in his cups."
In his cups. Remember the Nier Automata, or was it Nier? Where I think it was Gurmore Vice says, "Are you in your cups again?"
Yeah, I was thinking we had played something where a line similar
that
to
was
this
it.
had been before.
And we were like, "What the heck does that mean?" And we had come up with something like, "It means you're drinking, right?"
Yeah, well, yeah.
And so
you're
this is a very
I love it though.
Like in the translation of Vagrant Story, Alexander O. Smith said he was inspired by Game of Thrones. This particular expression shows up in George R.R. Martin's books constantly. It just means drunk.
Oh, to be deep in cups.
Yeah.
It's funny.
So he says, "Sorry you won't be joining them, drinking, but you die here, Duke's orders. None with eyes at Balmamusa are to live." And so RSL now is saying, like, okay, what?
Yeah, the only reason why none with eyes shall live is because what they're saying and what people saw do not align.
Yes.
Yeah, so she's getting it now.
So you too, Aricel, if the truth were to get out, it would mean no end to trouble. Like, you were at Balmamusa, Vice? Like, she didn't even know that.
Yeah, she didn't know he was there.
Yeah. Yes, I was. I was with your beloved Leonor, no less. So wait, you knew nothing of what was planned? Not a word? He's like surprised she didn't know. I would assume because Leonor's girlfriend. He didn't tell you anything?
Yeah.
And she's like, no. And he's
I wouldn't tell my girlfriend either.
Like Leonor must be mad. Only a lunatic would pay such a price for victory. And Vice says, "Pity you learned the truth, girl. There will be no reconciling with Leonor now. You're not one to look the other way. Kill them all and spare no one." And then, of course, as you're fighting, you get some more dialogue. Vice has a thing for Kashua. So he says, "A life spent in hiding from soldiers brings back old times, eh? After the Dark Knights attacked Goliath, we three hid in a deserted house near the church, waiting for Bakram to withdraw. Our stomachs were empty, our hearts full of fear they would discover us. You swore you would never live like that again, Kashua." She says, "Your point eludes me." He says, "It's not too late. Come with me. I can have you spared with a word. Where has following Denim led you? Always running, always hiding. It wearies you. I see it in your eyes. Wouldn't you rather walk in the light?" So there's a part of me that can almost see Vice making the choice that he made. Not even just because he's disgusted with the unwillingness of those people to rise and fight. And he's like, well, if you're not going to fight with us, you're against us, kind of thing. I could see that being a reason, but also a chance to show Kashua that following Denim won't lead to anywhere good. See, you shouldn't, because she just does whatever Denim does. She just goes with him everywhere.
Right.
I'm just going to be by Denim's side. That's all I want. Right. That's all she cares about. So as a way of sort of showing her, see, but you said you never wanted to live like that again, and following Denim
led you there
again. So why don't you stop following him and finally come be with me? I can make everything better, kind of thing.
That's very good. So he likes her, right? It seems.
Well, with whatever way a person like this is capable of love, I guess. But like, really, I think it's just he wants to win more than anything.
Oh, very interesting.
He's infatuated with her and wants to win against Denim.
I almost wonder too if it was because when there's three people, right, and it's like you have some majority rules system where it's like, hey, if two people agree, then we do that thing.
Yeah.
Well, Denim and Kachua always agree.
Yes.
And so he's always left out. And just the fact that choice in and of itself, the Balmamusa choice, was Denim's choice to begin with, may have made Vice upset in some different way.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why? Because whatever he chooses, Kachua just does what he wants. And so he basically runs the show. It's like on the Supreme Court, when you have a balanced Supreme Court, there's 4 and 4. Whoever like the most moderate middle justice is basically runs the show. Like they're the ones, whatever they want to do happens because the other 4 just line up with them and then boom. But they get to choose if they want to switch sides or not or whatever. Justice Kennedy was that for like 10, 15 years. And it becomes like, what's the point of all these other 8 people? It's just whatever that one person wants, because the other ones are partisans. It's just the one that's more moderate who kind of is willing to move back and forth. That's the one that ultimately makes the decision when you have a 5-4 Supreme Court. So when you have a 3-person, you have a 2-to-1, group, right? And it ends up being Denim. Denim's the one. Everything he does, she'll just go with him every time. Vice doesn't have a chance to ever exercise some leadership skills or anything like that. Like, I don't think he has leadership skills, but at the same time, he hasn't been able to develop them because no one will ever follow him unless it's what Denim wanted, in which case Denim is the one they're following.
That's a good point.
Someone like Vice,
Denim
really
basically makes every choice because Kashua doesn't even make choices.
He's the middle Supreme Court justice.
Yeah, well, not even that. It's like Kashua doesn't make choices either because she's just going to do whatever Denim does anyway.
Yes.
So whatever Denim chooses to do, she just does that.
Yes.
She's not even like, even if she doesn't want to.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah, right.
A lot of times she doesn't want to. She she wanted to leave at the beginning of this chapter.
That's right.
And this goes on, and it kind of builds Kashua's frustration with Denim. Like, he just doesn't listen to what she says, ever. He just does what he wants. And so then she does what he does, and the Vice is just kind of forced to follow.
Yes.
Or had been up to the point where they separated.
And I could see at some point that being frustrating.
Well, a lot of resentment would build.
Right. At the same time, it does seem to me a little bit like Vice does, to some degree, like Kachua and doesn't like. But I don't find that one quite as convincing because Denim is her brother. So if he is thinking that he wants to win her over, but she's always going with Denim, well, that's not going to continue forever because they're brother and sister, right? Like, at some point, if she wants a romance at all, she's going to have to pick somebody else that's not Denim. And if you're around, just stick around long enough. You're the only dude there. Like, it'll eventually be you. But instead, he's, like, jealous of Denim almost. But it's like, wait, they can't have that relationship, though. So it's almost like he preemptively became jealous of a brother-sister relationship when what he wanted was something completely different. Does that sound right, or am I wrong in reading into it the romantic element?
Go ahead, Ivan.
No, you're not wrong at all.
Okay.
But I also think that the way Kachua treats Denim, I think the way that Kachua treats Denim, I think a lot of people think it's weird around them.
It is really weird.
Like, so maybe he is.
We'll talk more about that chapter 3.
Yeah, but I think he's not that unjustified to feel a bit resentful about it.
I don't.
Why are you paying attention to him? You can't date him. Well, I'm right here.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. But at the same time, Vice, dude, she can't date him. So don't ruin things for yourself, man. You're her only other option at the moment.
Kashua's like just complete undying loyalty to Denim is almost so extreme to where she would forego any romantic relationship if that's not what Denim wanted. Anyways.
That's true.
So it's like if Denim would be the one to pick who she could be with,
totally true.
And she would just do what he said.
That would probably be what happens.
So she's got this really, really weird attachment to Denim. But we'll talk more about that later.
Yeah,
I want to get into my favorite part of this particular scene, and maybe my favorite part of all of Chapter 2. So she responds to him, shadow or light, walking in the shadow or light. I care not. My only wish is to stand at Denim's side. And then she tries to appeal to his sense of morality here. Do you feel nothing, Vice? How can you look upon the wreckage of Balmamusa and not weep with shame? We have known each other since we were children. How can you lift your sword against a friend? His response here is brilliant. It's brilliant on kind of a couple different levels. Because I know what I do is right, Kashua. So what I was talking about earlier about knowing what you do is right, that's in one way I like it because the justification that's happening.
Yeah, sure.
But also, I'm no murderer, which is he probably didn't technically kill any of them. He left with Leonard and left it for someone else to do. So it's another level of justification you can make. I went along with the Duke's plan. I didn't actually kill anybody.
I didn't kill anybody.
So it wasn't wrong, but in the ends justify the means because I didn't do any of the killing.
Right.
Okay, so there's another level to it. And here's my favorite part. We're not playing as soldiers anymore. Am I not content to sit... and I am not content to sit grousing about injustice when the means to the end of this suffering is within my grasp. And then he goes on to say, tell me, what would you have done if Denim heeded Leonard? This is where it all came around, and I was like, okay, this is actually really freaking cool. Because I saw. I saw what she did.
We're not talking about it.
So, tell me what you would have done if Denim heeded Leonard, heeded the Duke's orders in Balmamusa. What if he had chosen as I did? What then? No, stay your answer. I already know. Readily would you have joined in the slaughter. Am I wrong? And she says, no, I would never do that. But we know better. And that's what's so great about all of this is that Kachua happens to have been on the right side of history here, but she wouldn't have been easily had Denim chosen to do something else.
And so coincidentally,
and she would have readily justified that decision.
Of course,
and would have felt completely justified in doing it
because at some point she still has to live.
Yes.
Like people can't live with these burdensome. Like they have to justify it somehow. And then go on living. She would have done that.
My point in bringing this up is that human beings are just like particularly good at this.
Yeah.
Particularly good at justifying.
Yeah.
Going through, like I said, the mental gymnastics it takes to justify your side.
Right.
Whatever decision it was. And whether it doesn't matter which choice you made.
Nope.
You will do just as good a job at convincing yourself it was right.
Yes.
Either way.
Yes.
And so all of this sort of like moral grandstanding that people do is really rich when you look at the psychology of it all and you're really honest with yourself about it and understand that, and this is what we got into a little bit with, I don't remember which podcast it was, but it was recently. It might have been Spec Ops: The Line.
When you're convinced you're right. Yes. Yeah. That would probably be it.
It was Spec Ops.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
I watched it.
Yeah. where basically you... Well, actually, no, it was a little bit Final Fantasy 16, too.
Oh, sure,
where
okay.
you don't really choose things.
Right.
You just react.
Right.
And then your
Yes.
reasons for making the choice, your rationale behind
that's
it
right,
is
yeah.
developed
Afterwards.
it's already
There
happened.
you go.
Yeah. The decision
This is
already
kind of
happened,
the point I'm getting at, is that work that goes into the reasons and the rationale and justifying why you feel the way you do
Yeah.
comes after. You didn't actually... Those aren't
subconscious.
the reasons that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
feel that way. You just feel that way. And so now you're going to do all of the work in demonstrating why that's justified.
Yes. That is how the human brain
That's actually
works.
what I was.
Go ahead, Ivan.
Yeah, that's actually what I was trying to say in the last podcast, when we were talking about the lawful route decision. It's kind of a spur of the moment decision for the character, but we'll go back to that later.
That sounds
Yeah,
good. That sounds
I'm just glad you guys came around to my point of view here.
Well, I don't want to go that far yet.
Well, I have more. I have more so than Mike. I have, but I would really want to talk about it when we get to it later.
Yeah, we will return to this conversation later. I've had more thoughts on it, and there on both perspectives.
Yeah.
Really, I still think there's more to say, both from the perspective we had last time and from the other perspectives I hadn't considered. And there's been good comments and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So we'll return to that later. We don't have time to do that today. But my point is that I loved this line from Vice, calling this particular, I don't know what you call it, aspect of the human psyche into question for Quechua.
The antagonists are good at that.
We have the meta perspective of being able to see this imaginary two timelines where, Quechua would have done that, and she would have justified it and felt completely justified.
No.
Because it's really not about the reasons. All this rationale, all these reasons we come up with, that's not really the reason why you choose the things you do or feel the things you feel. You feel them first. There's not a reason you feel them, you just do. And then you justify them later.
Right.
And when you think about it that way, a lot of the arguing that we do seems very, very silly.
It does. It seems very silly. Yet at the same time, that is... Things have to get done. Disputes have to get resolved.
Yes.
People have to vote on who the next leader is. Like, at some point, it would be awesome if you just never justified anything ever and you just let life just happen and you're just reacting to it all the time and you can never explain any of it because you don't even try because you know that it's completely useless. But you know, there are things that you have to do, and there are ways that you have to explain why you did it.
Yes.
And
but all of
so
this,
it's like
all
psychology
of this
versus society
is just an exercise of the ego. And go watch our last podcast series to
Outer Wilds
to learn about how I think the ego is a prison. Anyways. Let's move on from this.
That's really good. My next note's about Sir Folkert of the Liberation.
So
before you move on to that, can I actually pulled up the game. If we could go over the talk section. I don't know if you guys looked at it for.
Oh, please do. Please do.
Go for it.
I actually turned on the game and loaded up a save file so I could have the ones at the beginning of the chapter before Folkert. Because it kind of gives you the framing for what is everyone thinking right now about what happened at the end of chapter 1. Mm-hmm. So we have massacre at Baba Musa. A massacre has taken place at Baba Musa. There are no survivors. Baba Musa was set aside by the Wallister, by the Kingdom of for the Wallister, by the Kingdom of Galistan, and all those who perished were of Wallister blood. Women and children were spared no mercy as the town was engulfed in flames. The killings are thought to be an act of retribution by the Galgastani for the recapture of Almorica Castle by the resistance. Hierophant Batos maintains he is not responsible. That's the first one. There's only 4, so I'm going to...
Okay.
Another purge of dissidents follows that. Hearing of the massacre at Baba Musa, factions within the Galgastani camp have risen up against their leaders. They sought to oust the Hierophant, but army forces have crushed the rebellion with savage display of force. Many are deserting the army or seeking to incite a coup d'etat, and the chain of command is in tatters. That Hero of Goliath a traitor? The Wallister Resistance has placed a bounty on the head of the young Hero of Goliath who captured Almorca Castle. They have named him as the one responsible for the massacre at Balmamusa. He has thus far evaded pursuit and is now in hiding. The bounty stands at a staggering 30,000 Goth. And finally, the Resistance Masters reports indicate that the forces of the Wallister Resistance, led by Duke Ronway, are massing in the Tsanji Weald near Karitne Keep. Galgastani now make up about half of the Resistance army, and the battle lines are no longer clearly drawn as in the past. It seems the final push will be made in the coming days.
Is that all of them? Is that the last one?
That is all of them for the beginning of the chapter, and I'll load up for the ones later when we get past all the...
Okay, very nice.
The thing that stuck out to me there was the context of the framing that the Duke came up with for why the Galgastani would all of a sudden just slaughter 5,000 innocents.
Yeah, because
they took back all Marika Castle. We'll get back at you. We'll kill all
Right.
these 5,000 innocent people. It's something I think people would believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
And the Hierophant denying it, it's like, who would believe him?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, seriously, yeah. But he's right. Oh, it's just so funny.
Okay. So this battle with, there's a battle here where you come across a knight who is a captive.
Yeah.
Farrell, the enemy here, seems to believe that we know who the knight is. Take better care of your friends, blah, blah, blah. Like, who is this guy? I don't even know who this is.
Okay.
Do you know who this is? No,
well,
I don't.
To them, all the resistance are all the same. They're all lumped into one thing. But it's like, no, there's the different factions and different groups that want different things.
But Falkirk is actually
but he's Liberation Front.
Is Liberation Front.
Falkirk,
He's not a Wallister Resistance guy. So whoever Farrell is, they're mistaking who we are.
Yeah.
Farrell is a member of the Wallister Resistance. He's under the Duke.
Okay, so Farrell's a Resistance guy.
And he doesn't understand that Falkirk is a Valeria Liberation Front. He thinks he's just Denham's guy.
Right.
Yeah. So anyways, they're all confused about who these people are.
Once again, though, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Enemy, bad, kill.
Yeah, so they attack us. We win the fight. We free Falkirk. He reveals that he is from the Liberation Front, which is a Bakram resistance group who are against Branton.
Now, once again, am I right on this one? Kachua does not, once again,
doesn't want to go with...
I don't like Liberation Front. I don't want to help these people. I don't want them part of our group.
And Denham's like, now we're going to do it.
You can talk to my hand for a few more minutes. I'm gonna tell this guy that he's perfectly welcome to join our party.
Yeah. And...
it's like anything that doesn't go your way. It's something like that.
Yeah.
That's right.
His line there is basically that. Yeah, like.
Wait. That's right. So, he says that you care little
for that does not play out as you see it,
and that's so interesting because in that case, right? If she only cares for things that play out as she sees fit, then what? I don't know. That gives a little insight into her mind, at least a little bit, because she says perhaps, she's accepting it a little bit.
That.
But also that she may have foreseen some of this stuff ahead of time for the things that she did support and that did turn out a certain way. That there may be some element there where she's like, she's doing pretty good. We'll just put it that way.
But basically, Sistina, the lady from Chapter 1, who we saved, or I guess you could not, but if you did, Falkirk fights in the same Liberation Front.
That's right.
I do have some comments about the alternative scenario, if she is not in the party.
Died.
I guess I don't know, because she's in mine.
Actually, I'm going to play Chapter 3 neutral without the Liberation Front in my party, because of something of a conversation that happens later. We'll get into it. But if Sistina doesn't show up, then Bayan never asks you to rescue her, obviously. But
you never get to kill pirates? You never go on that pirate boat? Oh, okay, good. That pirate boat is sweet.
You skip the fight where you rescue Sistina, but also if Bayan dies in this encounter, you also skip Sistina, even if you did rescue her.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways things can go. It's kind of crazy. There's like a lot of different...
And it's also, potentially
complex.
you're able to get to your destination without any of those characters even being alive anymore.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I like it in some ways.
Yeah.
But I don't love it when we're trying to analyze the same story.
Yeah, I'll get into that later on chapter.
So,
the chapter.
Anyway, they're talking, and Folkart is saying, "Hey, you're heading to Rhyme? I wouldn't do that. That's crazy. There's no way you guys can like attack the Duke. You don't have the numbers." And he's like, "Well, what are we going to do?
On
Sitting
our tail,
here wringing our hands? Like,
yeah,
we got to do something."
They're gonna
He's
catch
like, "I have a proposition. Here, let's do this instead. I have some friends that were taken by pirates. If you were to aid me in getting our ship back, I could take you to Rhyme. A suitable arrangement for us both. So you help me, I'll help you. We can get there by sea, which will be a lot safer than, marching across the land where you have a price on your head of 30,000 goth and a bunch of people are trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Just for that reason. So
it's like, okay, water travel seems pretty legit.
Yeah,
and that
Denim
the boat is sweet. It looks really cool. I love that. I love it a lot.
But you have to go to Kadriga Fortress first.
Yeah, kill some
to
pirates.
Kill the pirates. Try to save Bayan again, as Ivan was saying, he could die in the battle, which would change things. But
yeah,
there's
also
say he's saved.
There's a pirate. There's like a girl pirate. I can't remember her name, but there's an option to let her live or to kill her in the end.
That is after the fight with Bayan.
That's the next
once
fight.
we rescue him.
Oh yeah, I'm skipping ahead.
Yeah. So after you've rescued Bayan, he says, if Sistina is still alive, and she didn't die in chapter 1, she's been captured by the pirates, and we need to go to their den and save them. And Folkart is saying, well, I'm a knight, and I promised them that if they helped me get our ship back, that I would take them to Rhyme. So I got to take them to Rhyme first, and then I'll come back and help.
And knights never go back on their word.
Yes. And Ban's like, that's stupid. She's going to be dead before that happens. We have to go save her now.
So I'm a knight. What do you want me to do?
and Folkart's like, I can't. I promised them.
He's bound.
Duty bound. So Cashua's trying to take advantage of this. Yes, it's not our problem. Sistina's not our problem. Please take us where we want to go.
Yeah.
And ultimately, Ban then gives the choice to Denim. Well, I'll hear from you. What are your thoughts? So you can choose to go help them rescue Sistina, or you can decline and just go straight to Rhyme from there.
And this, I think, some of these parts here are what I think Ivan was getting at in chapter 1 when he said that Kachua won't always be the good angel on the shoulder. She won't always be the one saying, hey, you have to always
if you refuse
do the honorable right thing.
Go ahead, Ivan.
If you refuse Bayan's suggestion, he'll just run off and you'll never see him again. You won't get either Sistina or him. Folkart was stuck around.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would assume there that Bayan died in trying to fight the pirates.
Yeah.
So, choice I'm guessing we made was go rescue Sistina.
Yeah,
right? So you get a whole other battle here.
Yeah.
With Veldre, the pirate. She's the wife of the pirate we just killed, the commander in the last battle.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Another thing I really liked about this is that
prepare to die.
I'm sure you've got the Warren report pulled up on her, giving her background a little bit. Let's go ahead and read that.
Yep. Let me just scroll down here. The pirate of Veldre, a Bakram who is wed to the pirate Darza. She was born to nobility in Barnicia, but struck out on her own to escape the burden of her lineage. While at sea, her ship was attacked by Darza's pirates, and she was taken to Ndamsa Fortress. She was unfazed by their threats of violence, and Darza grew fond of her spirited nature, keeping her always at his side. Veldre eventually came to have feelings for Darza as well, and they married. After she joined him on raids, at first she joined him on raids, but later she stayed ashore to watch over their den, and after learning, she carried Darza's child. Though usually calm and collected in the front of other pirates, she broke into tears upon hearing of Darza's death. She was defeated in battle by Denim while attempting to avenge her husband's killing, but her life was Was it spared?
Well,
For you
yes.
guys?
Did you? I did not, but
I did.
you did.
I spared
let
the
her
pirate.
live?
I let her live.
I
was like,
actually-
you can live.
I actually got this by accident. I did not know it was possible to save her because in the older versions of the game, or at least not, I don't know about the PSP version, but in the Super Nintendo version, you could not spare her.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah.
And then when I got her accidentally to like calm down and go away because I got her HP low enough, I was so surprised.
That's crazy. Yeah, I didn't even realize that because she just died in mine. But anyway, kind of the point I wanted to get at with her and with reading that is, she is a husband and a child.
Yes.
So once again,
Yeah.
you're there doing the right thing to save Sistina. In the course of doing that, you have harmed somebody terribly. This is what kind of, again, going back to the point, there is no justice.
No.
It's justice in war. What was the line from Canopus earlier?
All are innocent and criminals. Right?
It was something about justice and war are not commonly something or other. Anyway, they don't go together. They're incompatible.
Yes.
Is the
Seldom. They're seldom compatible.
Yes. So, again, you're here trying to help Fulcrum to rescue somebody who was taken by pirates. But in the course of doing that, you've now killed somebody. You've made a child fatherless, now motherless if you kill her, I guess. The point is
pregnant.
that she's pregnant. Okay.
So the kid just dies.
Right. So I hope people are getting what I'm coming from here. Like, in the perspective of those people, this is a horrible injustice that has been done.
They're just pirates. They're just going around pirating, stealing stuff.
Sure, but
let them do it in peace.
You don't know somebody's life story. You don't know what drove them to that. A lot of times,
totally. Yeah.
Again, who would the founding fathers of the United States would have been branded as terrorists,
pirates,
or pirates, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, they did. They were pirates.
They're resisting oppressive governments.
Yeah,
and that sort of thing.
A 3% tax raise on tea.
Right.
That's what that was over, by the way.
So,
Boston.
my point is, like, no matter what you do, as I don't know, as honorable as you try to be in war, as much as you do your very, very best to not harm those who are innocent or whatever, you may be trying as hard as you can. It's impossible. Like, you're going to hurt somebody who will see you as being someone who they now need vengeance on. Yep. You're going to cause irreparable damage and trauma. You're going to cause trauma to people, no matter how noble you're trying to be in your pursuits. Right. And so then there's no end to someone feeling justified now coming after you.
Right.
Is the point.
And we have left in our wake, Denham's wake, many dozens of dead bodies and a long trail of blood everywhere we go. And sometimes we're only trying to save like one person, and you end up killing we were trying to save Sistina, and we end up killing 30 people, right?
Well, after you rescue Sistina, the next guy you fight he has a tragic backstory if you read the Warren Report.
Go for it.
Dagon.
Actually. Yeah.
Dagon.
A Wallister who served no host, paid dues to no order, and forged his own way through the world as a headhunter. A mage of no small talent, Dagon was promoted to mage instructor for the Knights of Almorica. However, he chose the path of research over that of war, and so built a modest yet fulfilling life with his family. It was when his daughter was visited by a grave illness that he took up headhunting. Such was the nature of her ailment that magic alone was not enough to cure it, and the expensive medicines her treatment required were far beyond the means of a researcher. Time was of the essence. Dagon quickly made a name of himself as a headhunter, earning the moniker Dagon the Ruiner for his uncanny ability to track down his marks. He was in Goliath when he happened upon Denham Pavel, attempted to claim his bounty, and was slain for his trouble.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. See, this is what I'm saying.
Well, his daughter's going to die.
When you have this many people involved in conflicts as large as this, horrible things are going to happen to people who don't deserve them. Then they're going to feel justified in seeking vengeance on that. And there's just kind of no end. It's a cycle that just continues to perpetuate itself forever until somebody can finally say, like in Vinland Saga, I have no enemies.
Yeah.
And you just drop it and you let it go. And you realize that's what it takes to stop this.
Yes, but do people who drop it and let it go ever gain power?
Well,
sometimes.
I would say, I mean, we'd have to examine, like...
Maybe.
Well, I could give you some examples.
Sure, go for it.
I mean, the king, because of this game as supposedly inspired by Yugoslavia, I like to compare Dorgalio to Joseph Tito. Because Yugoslavia it was a hotbed of ethnic violence during World War II, which is when he, even though he was a communist, he united the entire country and he made ethnic, preferences and kind of racism all essentially illegal and punished people even from his own. I think he was Croatian. People argue about it. They might start a fight, but but he definitely laid things aside and he actually.
I get that, but how did he get to power?
He had to fight everyone on every side.
That's what that's my point. That's my point. If he just gave it up and said, I'm not going to make enemies, I'm not willing to hurt anybody, I'm not going to.
And he made enemies with Stalin.
He never
would
have been the leader. So I'm just throwing that out there, just in general.
I mean, yeah,
I agree with you.
The point is like fair. I would say that. In order for a person like that to have power, you'd have to be more like a prophet sort of figure. Right?
Oh, sure.
Somebody
maybe take a Gandhi approach. That's a good point.
Creates sort of a movement of that kind in which the
that's
power
good.
is more in the philosophy and the idea,
that's
less
good.
so in the actual like forceful taking of power or whatever.
I like that.
Anyway.
That's a great answer, actually.
Okay, let's see. We're to...
Oh, now we're to Syria.
Bode Fortress.
Yep.
With Syria. Yeah, we're meeting her for the first time.
So Syria is Sistina's sister, and I think she is the leader
of the Liberation
Front.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and she does not... she will not be referred to as merely a sister when she is wearing her armor and commanding troops. She wants to be referred to as, what is it, the leader or the... Anyways,
I am your commander.
Commander, when I am here, I'm your commander. Don't call me sister. I thought that was really good.
So they have a disagreement about how the Liberation Front should be proceeding. So all the people who were with Sistina had basically left the Liberation Front because Syria is intent on assassinating Duke Ronway. Because the way they see this, the Wallister victory is a foregone conclusion at this point. Batos is going to fall. So when this happens, the Wallister will be powerful enough now to basically be even with the Bakram.
Right, which
does not help. Yeah. Well, the war would just continue to be even more bloodshed and whatnot. So Syria's idea is let's assassinate Ronway. Let's have the Bakram now jump on their attempt to kind of like take over. The Bakram win. Right. And then we assassinate Branton.
I thought that was hilarious,
by the way. We put our person...
Because when it's like, at first she's like, oh, okay, here's the plan, guys. We're going to kill Duke Ronway. And Syria is just like not having it. She's like, are you kidding me? Well, you can't just go assassinate a leader. Like, this is ridiculous. No way. What's going to happen when the Bakrams show up? And it's like, oh, okay, hear me out. Then we're going to assassinate the Bakram leader. Okay, first off, your plan's full of holes, okay? And then who takes over? Oh, then we'll just whoever takes over, we'll just assassinate them too, right? It's like no big deal.
But at least
it kind of sounds like not as well thought
on the island, which is our people, and we just put our person in power, and then we take over this way.
And no one would assassinate our person, right? So, I mean, that's a foolproof plan, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what Cashua points out. Yeah, I mean, Cashua points this out. There's a lot of ifs and whens in this.
Yes, exactly. Plan, it's like, if this happens, if you can't even assassinate this dude, and then the Bakram do what you want them to do, and if you can't even assassinate their guy, and then the thing happens you want, okay, then it's great, but we're like 5 steps down the road, and all of them are risky things.
Yes. So Sistina was against this and had been from the beginning. And
I love
guess
how
all
she
the people
blurts it
went with
out,
her.
by the way, because Syria's like, we're about to do our plan, wink, wink, plan. And Syria's like, oh, so, hey, Denim, they're going to assassinate the Duke. And Syria's like so pissed. She's like, Sistina, shut up. You're telling random strangers you just brought into our place the plan? Like, I'm surprised in a realistic situation, Denim would not have been able to leave that fortress alive with that knowledge, right?
Go ahead.
Especially because we basically go to Duke Romway, and that's part of the way this chapter ends. Anyways.
Go ahead, Ivan.
So after the... Theria is there's more context to those sisters later on that we'll learn. Don't worry about it. But there might be even more motivations under the hidden motivations there.
Interesting. Can't wait.
The way that I did this following scene after that, if you have Sistina or Folkert or Bane, one of them will run out and in protest.
Yeah, it depends on who's alive, I guess, right? Is the one who ends up arguing with Saria there.
If nobody is alive, Kachua will be the one.
Wow, that's crazy.
Okay.
That's crazy.
And because I'm playing the neutral route, where we're going to rejoin back with the Liberation Army afterwards, I actually did something unconventional here and told when you go out and you have the conversation with Sistina, and she's talking about, like, it's important to hold on to your ideals and not compromise your morality for political gains, stuff like that. Yeah. And you have the option of, like, yeah, come with us. You're totally cool. And the other one is like, get real, grow up.
Yeah, right.
And she's
the one that's like, world peace, right? Like, she's the one who thinks that they can just totally solve all the world's problems. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're going into the neutral route, I think it's honestly better for Denim to say to her, like, no, look, like, this is the real world. We actually should not get too close to our ideals, because the world just doesn't turn out that way. Like, the world does not get set to rights if we're not sticking with the chaos route. Yeah, so I actually told her, no, you can't. And you don't get Bayan, you don't get Folkert, you don't get Sistina if you do this. So all three don't join.
Wow.
I went ahead with... Because I thought, if we're going to go down the neutral route, I'm going to make a path through chaos again anyway.
You're going to go full neutral. You're a radical. You're radical neutral. You're a neutral extremist.
And another thing is, this is a little bit ahead, but I think it's also relevant. You wouldn't necessarily notice it. If you have Aracel in your party at the end of the chapter and you choose neutral, in the original version of the game, she straight up leaves your party in disgust and never comes back.
Wow.
Ooh. Oh, well, we're going to get there. Okay, I see that, though.
But in Reborn, she doesn't necessarily do that. You probably will not get that scene because it just reduces her loyalty, and if you just level her up a little bit, she'll be fine.
Just give her a few roses, give her a few candies, give her a few chocolates.
Yeah, sure.
But I think it's worth mentioning because the neutral route you do, we'll get to it, but...
Interesting.
But this is how I chose to approach the scene, knowing you guys probably would not.
Yeah, right.
Good thought.
So, we already talked about the battle with Dagon and Goliath.
Well, hold on, though. Because I'm still with Sistina here. This is one of the last things that she says to her sister before we leave. Sistina says, I want no part in a kingdom built on the bones of the innocent.
Right.
Right?
Wait.
Yeah, way too late.
Well, absolutely.
You've been living in one your whole life.
But tell me if I'm wrong about this, Ivan. So she's saying this in response to assassinating Duke Romway. She's saying that if we assassinate Duke Romway, then we'll be building a kingdom on the bones of the innocent.
No. I don't.
Okay, please
it's the instigation of the war. It's
just war in general. But Syria's trying to avoid the war too. So I don't.
She's trying to perpetuate
She's trying to instigate a new one.
Oh, so that then
the Bakram will invade if Ronway, so all these Wallister will get wiped out.
But then after that, then everything's good, right? Because win.
That's Syria's.
Because they have to assassinate Brand.
It's going to cost the Wallister being wiped out by the Bakram.
Okay, I'm glad I brought this up because
I
got the
Syria
wrong
is
idea
basically
here.
willing to sacrifice the Wallister being wiped out by the Bakram in order so that now Branton's in charge. The Bakram have taken the island, and then we can assassinate him and put our dude on.
I love it.
Exactly.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Then Sistina's totally right. We're good.
Yeah. Okay. So we already talked about Dagon. Let's get to
the scene. Execution.
Yeah, the execution scene in Karatane, right?
Yeah.
Good dialogue. as always, I mean, no one ever accused Matsuno of being bad with dialogue.
He's very good.
Dialogue. So, Ranwei is basically making a speech, making a big show of this. So he's talking to the Wallister clansmen, also Galgastani friends, those who fought with him that were Galgastani. Know that all suffering, yours and ours, flowed forth from this man. With his blood, let us wash away all bile and rancor. Let his life pay the debt upon our hearts. Wallister and Galgastani stand as one. War is ended.
Mission accomplished. Very nice.
Nailed it.
I don't have as good an impression as I used to.
Batos says, war is ended? Ha! Fool. It was not I who started this war. All of you took up arms with me. So he's pointing back at the
Takes two
people.
to tango.
So he's pointing back to the people, not even at Ranwei. He's all of you did this with me, right?
Wow, he really wants to take the whole nation down with him.
Ranwei says, despicable, even with your last breath you seek to place the blame upon these people, your subjects. And Balbatos says, I pity you, Ranwei. We are more alike than you can know, sitting behind our castle walls. We talk much of how the world should be, yet we never stoop to dirty our own hands. That's what knights are for, is it not? Yet as much as you tell yourself the people are yours, you are wrong. They do not dance upon our palms. It is we who dance upon theirs. Mark my end well, Ranwei, for it will be yours. Enough of that. Do it. And then Balbatos says, they kill me now because they tire of war. What cause will they proclaim when they kill you?
Ooh, very good. Yeah. So this is something I've noticed.
So good.
The voice acting is phenomenal in this game. But one of the things that I've noticed that with Matsuno, he's very good at writing rebuttals to the correct position. He's really good at fleshing out the philosophy of his antagonists.
Yes,
very good. And they say things that are they're usually the antagonists are realists, right? Yeah. Because you're the idealist who dreams of world peace or whatever, and so you're trying to save the world. And then the antagonists are like, hey, the real world, blah blah blah, and Matsuno's very good at showing hey dude, this is how the real world works. And over and over with Denim's antagonists, we get that over and over. You think you're the good guy, look what you've done, right? I'm just being realistic about it. I own it. You're pretending you're still good. I just own that I'm not good. And I just deal with it, right? I accept that I'm just doing orders from the Duke, but you're the one pretending you've got some call from God to do this, but you're doing more bad than anybody. And it's really good. So in this one for the Hierophant, for him to say something like that, what are they going to say when they kill you? And especially when he draws the parallel, you and I aren't so different. Now, us as the player, having some behind-the-scenes time with the Duke, we know that's totally accurate.
Yes.
Right? The Duke and this guy are two peas in a pod. They are two sides of a coin. They're the same kind of person. Yet the Duke just won. His strategy was better, so he's the good guy. And
that goes back to exactly
but it's the
what
same
Canopus's point
exactly
was. Yes.
Yeah, Canopus was very good on there. He was very on the money.
Yes. Okay.
So then the Dark Knights invade.
Yes.
A town.
We have Rhyme here.
We get to Rhyme. Kachua gets kidnapped.
Yes.
Oh,
so
we
arrive in Rhyme.
I did these in a different order.
And Zapan, basically, you have an encounter with him. You beat him.
Yeah,
but
how did he end up with Kachua?
Total accident.
You defeat him in battle.
Yeah.
But as he's about to run away, there's an explosion, and the Dark Knights are invading Rhyme and taking over, right? So in the chaos that ensues from that, the idea is Denim lost track of Kachua, and she was just, taken by Zapan in the chaos that ensued from the Dark Knights arriving and the distraction that happened from that.
Makes sense.
But we have the Knights of Zenobia are here in Rhyme, and so a bunch of them sort of meet up with their counterparts, the Holy Knights and the Dark Knights meet up and start having their individual battles and stuff like that. So we see a couple of those scenes. Basically, this battle leads off with Zapan making off with Kachua, and Denim's like, oh, Gildas needs help. And Gildas is like, no, I've got this. Like,
Go help
take
your
off.
sister, yeah.
And the Dark Knight he's fighting builds up this big attack, and you hear a scream off screen.
Yes.
And he's like, ah! And then Denim goes off after Zapan to try to get Kashua back.
Yes.
And Lancelot at the same time is fighting with a huge dude.
Yes.
The Dark Knight Barbas.
Yes.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Who specifically says, "Show me the strength that took down Highland," which was the empire that was the bad guys in
that's right.
Zaytijania.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
So what we come to find out, which I think we can just kind of summarize a few things here so we can kind of get to the end of chapter 2. What we come to find out is this attack by these Dark Knights was not something Dark Knight Lancelot, wanted them to do. These knights in particular were just, they heard the Zenobian knights were there, and they were sort of just keen to test their strength against them. But this was actually not a smart move strategically,
Right.
and the leaders of the Dark Knights are kind of pissed that they did this. They're supposed to appear neutral.
Appear
in this.
neutral.
Yes.
That's it.
I have the Warren reports for the second half of the chapter.
All right, go for it.
After this event specifically.
Go for it.
So these are all the ones going into Almorica. This is from my save right before the fight with Vice. The Bakram invade. Bakram forces launched a new offensive on Rime mere days after the downfall of the Kingdom of Galgistan. They now battle soldiers of the Wallister Resistance garrison there, and both sides have suffered heavy losses. Refugees from Rime are streaming into the Fidok region, which is where the Dark Knights are. And then we have countless civilians killed. Another tragedy reminiscent of the massacre at Balmamusa has occurred. A great number of townspeople of Rime have fallen victim to the Bakram invasion. At least 5,000 people are believed to be dead, and bodies litter the streets with skirmishes still taking place. As yet, nothing can be done to put the dead to rest. And then, the last one is irrelevant here. It's about the grinding area opening up.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
So, basically, they're reprimanded for having done this later. Denim they're supposed
just takes off after Kachua.
Yeah, Denim is going after Kashua, but we get a scene where Ranway they're told, hey, the freaking Dark Knights took Rime. He's like, what?
Yeah.
They're supposed to be neutral in all this. What is going on? This is crazy. So now there's like a whole new wrench thrown into everything. They hadn't even finished really routing the remainder of Batos' men yet. Yeah. They're still having some resistance from the Galgastani. They're not. This was the whole point of why he sent you to parley with the Dark Knights in Chapter 1, so that this would not happen while they were taking care of the Galgastani, and now it did. And so, anyway, to make a long story short, Tartaros Lancelot, the Dark Knight Lancelot, basically...
That's going to be at the beginning of Chapter 3.
Yeah, eventually he's going to be like, oh, he didn't sanction this, is what I'm getting at. Man. So this was just these knights going rogue and kind of just doing their own thing.
But at the same time, this is not known to Denim and company at the time. They just see this as the beginning of a new invasion. And supposedly they're coming to Almorica now, which is what motivates the scenes that happen after. So I think we should just not focus on what the Dark Knight's motivations are at this point.
So you take off to Almorica Castle to rescue Kachua. You battle Zapan again.
Yep.
You defeat him again. He retreats into the castle where he meets Vice.
There's also the sorceress Ramados. She speaks to the dead, but she can't hear the the dead until you
She was a really interesting character. She's another one, kind of like... and
Aracel and Donaldo
Aracel earlier, who just do not want to believe you no matter what you say, kind of thing.
But as she gets closer to death, she is able to hear those dead voices that she could not hear before. And now she knows that we were right. And she basically admits that in her dying breath, and then she dies.
Yeah. Right.
So the only people
And
who
she also
believe us
has
are dead people.
atheist versus religious argument with Donalto, which is
This is where Donalto is like, hey, in the name of Philha, and she's like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear anything about that. All these holy wars and like the things that your gods, sanction.
Right.
Like I'm not about that, right? So that's she's not hearing any of that. Anyway, she's an interesting
she communes
character
with the dead souls on the other side. That's
Yeah.
interesting. But and there it is in a world full of gods.
It's like
But she doesn't believe
in the war report it tells you she lived in like a small village, and then her kids got killed right at the beginning of the war.
That's right. Because didn't she
like,
say I'd rather be like at my summer house, like relaxing with my kids on vacation? Or
Yeah,
something?
right.
But instead,
yeah, but
like,
all my
I
kids
have
are
to fight
dead
you.
now.
They're all
Yeah.
dead because of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it was rough.
anyway, defeat her, move in,
Yep.
fight Zapan again, defeat him, move into the
There's
castle.
Vice.
Vice is standing over Zapan. No, you can't do this. We're allies. Vice kills him.
Yep.
And then Vice has a fight one-on-one with Denim.
Denim, yeah.
And this is really good stuff.
Yep. This is where we learn that Vice was very jealous
This is everything
Yes.
about Vice.
of Denim. Yeah.
This is basically where Vice's background and his character kind of starts really coming together. So you're next, Denim. What have you done with Kachua? You hear her off screen, Denim, on hand, my sister. Oh, I will. But first, you and I have a score to settle. There must be some other way. Hear me out. And I like his response, Vice. He says, talk, talk, talk. Let our steel speak.
There you
Like,
go.
we're
yeah.
done talking. Let's just fight.
Yep.
So you get into the fight, and they they talk all throughout the fight. So Vice says, ever since we were boys, you could do no wrong. They lavished praise on you while I looked on. Forgotten. It's because of our fathers, do you think? The son of a respected Abuna, like a priest, Denim. The son of a loutish drunkard, me. It was a relief when he died, but nothing changed. Why do they hate me? What flaw have I that you have not? Denim says, this is a fantasy. You're my friend. What became of our friendship? And this is where Vice reveals he was never his friend. Did I hide my hatred so well?
Yeah.
No.
No, we kind
you
of knew
didn't.
the whole time. In fact, there was never a scene where they were actually.
I actually never... yeah. Anyway. I was never your friend. How I envied you. Your father, the good Abuna. Your sister, all beauty and grace. Kashua thinks of you as a second brother. If you could only hear yourself.
Is that the... Hold on, that's the problem. So what I said before about, dude, Vice, you're the only, like, legit... Dude, well, apparently Kachua does not think of him that way. She thinks of him as just another brother.
Yeah.
But he can never be as close as her real brother. And so even that role that she gave him is like, you're like second brother. Okay, yeah. But so the categorization of brother by a girl that you like is a death sentence in one way. It is, you are my brother, but not like my real brother. And also, I'm never going to date you. Yeah. That's basically what it means. And that is pretty rough on somebody who's, got a many years long crush on a girl.
Well, and just a inferiority complex in general.
Sure. Yeah.
Like,
but I see no path forward for him anymore. Because earlier in the podcast, I was like, Vice, dude, like Kachua's going to look at you. Just wait, man. It appears as though probably not.
Never going to happen.
Probably not, because she had already categorized him as another sibling.
Yeah. Well, here's his response here is really interesting. If you could only hear yourself, you've always been the one that she cares for. Not even your father was good enough for her. Now, this is going to be paid off later, but it's a nice plan, so pay attention to this.
Yeah.
You're the only one she trusts, the only one she loves. So she's not even that concerned about the fact that their father was carried off or whatever.
Right. She's mostly concerned with him.
She only really cares about Denim. That's it.
Yeah.
He says, no, it's not too late. This is where I started to be like, really? Like, I struggled. Again, maybe this is because we haven't seen a lot of like actual scenes of any sort of genuine bonding with Vice between Denim and Kashua. Yeah. So the only experience I have with them is Vice just being an a-hole all the time.
All the time.
Like literally just
That is his
totally irredeemably an a-hole all the time.
Yes.
Just totally unlikable. So as I am hearing Denham's responses, I'm going like, where is this coming from? Like, you're trying to give this guy a chance? Still? Like, why? Like, legitimately, why? So I think it's kind of like part of the discussion we had last time. There has to be some head canoning going on here where you imagine Denham has a genuine bond with, or he feels he does have a genuine bond with Vice. And if it was your brother or if it was your best friend who did something really, really, really awful, it's a little bit easier to assume that you would try to call them back.
Right.
Instead of just totally condemn them. I can't do that because the only interactions I've ever had with Vice, he's an irredeemable a-hole, and like, screw that guy. So
now,
go ahead,
by the
Adam.
way, when they remade this game, they actually released 4 DLCs for it, which are called Coda, and they are baked into this game. And it's a really strange move, I guess, on the part of Matsuno. But when you get to that, I don't expect you to play that far because the post-game content is so deep. But a lot of the Vice Kachua Denham dynamic in Goliath before the war started is actually explored in that Coda 4 in the last DLC, which it's not canon. That's the thing. Like the events that happen in it are not canon, but it still calls back. These characters are talking about their growing up. I mean, like, what they talk about happening is supposed to have happened, but what the events of that DLC specifically are not. But he did kind of come back and add scenes into the game to develop this relationship. The problem is you don't see it in the main content of the game.
Yes. Right. And that's kind of where I'm landing with this. Like, despite discussions that have gone on to make cases for why it makes sense or not that characters make the choices they do, and all this that we're going to get back to in a later episode. I think that this type of story, like we've said, well, for instance, in Final Fantasy Tactics with Ramza and Delita, or say Suikoden 2 or something like that, both of those games take a lot of time to sort of show you these characters are close.
Yes.
And so, like, when you actually see the rift come between them, it feels really tragic. You kind of want, even though this character has done bad things, you kind of, like, still hope that there can be redemption for them. Right. And so the drama works in scenes like this, where the main character is appealing to his friend. Please, it's not too late. You can come back. I can't in this game because I have no feelings like that for Vice because I haven't been with Denham in those scenes. So I'm interested to watch those Coda scenes later and see some of that.
Yeah,
but like you're saying,
until the very end.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because that's just how you would have experienced them.
Right.
Yeah, I wish more of this had been included in Chapter 1. I really, really wish it had. I think it would have helped scenes like this land better instead of just me rooting against Vice because I just hate Vice. I have no reason to like Vice. Anyway, so he's trying to appeal to him. It's not too late. Whatever you may say, I was a friend to you, and I would be so again. Right. Vice says, I want no betrayer for a friend. The Duke and Leonard have placed their faith in me and their friends enough. Denham says, they only use you. When you've outlived that usefulness, they'll throw you to the wolves. And Vice says, you have it the wrong way around. I'm using them.
Yes.
Boom, boom, boom. They keep fighting. So he's basically, he's too far gone at this point. He's committed too much to this. And he's too resentful.
He's an Algus,
he's too
and he
full of
thinks
hate.
he's Delita.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
right,
So what you're saying is
Very
Denham
similar.
is hoping he's Delita when he's actually Algus from Final Fantasy Tactics.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Is
That's
the point.
Argarth, I guess. I keep sticking to the old
version.
translations.
There's
Yeah,
different-
right.
He has many names.
He's actually Algus, but Denham thought he was Delita, or is appealing to him as if he is.
Yeah.
Leonard breaks this up and comes in and basically says, hey, the Dark Knight's attacked. we can't afford to be fighting each other anymore. We gotta band together as Wallister because the Bakram are about to freaking invade us, and we need Denim now.
Did you foresee that at all?
No, I did not.
By surprise like crazy.
Yeah. But it does make sense because, again, none of this was personal on the part of Leonard or the Duke or whatever. It's all just a game they're playing for more power, and they're just using the pieces that happen to be on the board or within their reach or whatever. So they don't, to them, whatever. Yeah. Denim is now useful. we need him now.
Denim's also a powerhouse, you know?
Yeah.
Just the amount of chaos he creates by himself, how much he steamrolls all his enemies. It kind of adds up as the story goes on. I think his reputation continues to get bigger and bigger because he's just a terror.
Yeah. So now they have this greater threat, fighting Bakram. The Bakram army is approaching. At least they think that that's what's about to happen. Yeah. And so they're like, crap, we're going to need somebody like Denim to be like a commander in our army at this point. So all's forgiven. Come back. And let's try to appeal to him by saying, oh, you're a Wallister like us.
You're one of us.
And he's been trained, like everybody else in this game, to hate all the other tribes. So we can't afford Wallister to be fighting each other. Right. We have to kill our sworn enemies, the other tribes. So you can choose to be like, yeah, I'll go along with that. The Bakram are the real enemy. I'll lay aside my gripes against the Duke and whatever and join together because we're all Wallister. We're all the same tribe. So I would rather fight on the part of Rama, even though he wronged me, than have the Bakram take us over. So that's one path which leads to neutral, which is what we're choosing for now. Yeah. The other is to be like, no, screw that. I'll go my own way. Yeah. And I can't forgive you for what you've done. And the Duke's a monster and he needs to be thrown down. So
it's interesting stuff. This happens in the real world, by the way. This happens all the time where would think that these sworn enemies who just like switch sides and then switch right back and all's forgiven and everything's fine. This has happened so many times throughout history, and even in like modern politics, especially in America, where people just like you're running against someone in the primaries and then you win and you trash each other until the moment that you win the primary, and then they endorse you because you're running for the president and it's better you than that other party, right? And then you lose or win, and then you can get maybe an elevated spot in their
because if you endorse them, you become Secretary of State.
Secretary of State, exactly. I might be thinking of a specific example here.
Politics make strange bedfellows.
Yes, exactly. Yes. But it's so funny when everyone knows what game you're playing.
Yes.
It's like we're all playing a game. And, hey, I just, like, trash your entire family in front of the entire nation just because I want to win, right? You want to win, too. Well, hey, like, let's just,
nothing personal, kid.
And, let's just, like, be friends again. And they do it because they're all kind of sociopaths in that way. Yeah. And this kind of thing happens all over the world stage.
Yeah. That's all it's about. It's about, okay, well, you won that power, but in order for me to have more power than I have now,
I need you back.
I join with you. Yeah. And I need you too because we're all actually part of the same tribe and we're against them. And anyway.
But as soon as it's inconvenient, I'll ditch you and you'll understand because you'd have done the same.
Exactly. So, that's basically the world, the type of world. Well, that's just how the real world is, but that's the type of world that this is too. Yeah. And so we're going with the neutral route. We're going with the join with, Wallister. We're joining back with Duke, run away again. I loathed making this choice, though. Too. I did not want to do it at all.
This was rough.
I was like, dude, I cannot believe I'm doing this. I really don't want to do it. This is bullcrap. I don't want to play this story this way. Yeah. I want to choose chaos.
But
it is what it is.
Denim, of course, has multiple opportunities throughout Chapter 3 to justify rejoining back with the Wallister.
Yes.
And his justifications, I can't fault him. Like, I see exactly where he's coming from, and we'll get into that next episode. Yeah. But he has his reasons.
In Chapter 2, you also have several ways to justify it to yourself as you play the game, because like he is running around killing women and children.
Lots of people, lots of moms.
Whether it's incidental or not. He kills a woman who is pregnant, possibly, very likely.
Yeah.
He killed
the other woman's kids were
father
already
trying
dead,
to-
so you know. Yeah.
But like as it goes on, when he meets up with Syria, that's why I think it was a good idea for me to choose the tell Sistina to get real and grow up, because if you make that option and you make that sacrifice of those characters, you're more of the character who would choose the neutral route.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's consistent. I just didn't know this choice was coming. I did not foresee this one at all.
Chapter 3 of the neutral route is called "There Will Be Sacrifices." There will be sacrifices. I actually like to think of the neutral route as, well, in my personal opinion, this is the morally corrupt route where you don't have any ideology or excuse, where it's just political convenience for Denim.
Yeah,
so I kind of like.
Yeah. I'll tell you
make this trajectory toward the bending, because he makes a hypocritical decision here. There's no way, I'm against you murdering 5,000 people, but it's like, oh, well, they just murdered 5,000 other people. I guess I'll have to team up with you. It just, you have to kind of set it up a little bit.
But I guess, like, this is why the neutral route in every game just doesn't work. Because either you're totally moral or you're totally amoral or immoral. And
this is why,
like, why would you do both? Why would you
here.
sometimes be immoral and sometimes be moral, right? Now, in real life, it's like, yeah, because that's everything and everyone. But in a game, it's like, no. Like, you're either a good guy or you're a bad guy. That's how we expect these things to go. And in the neutral route, because I really do, when I hear Denim explain and justify, hey, I did what I thought was right then, now I'm doing what I think is right now. And it's like, I can't fault him for those decisions. Like, hey, he's actually being very rational right now. He's not entirely guided by some ethical spirit at the moment, but he is doing what he thinks is best then and now. And I have to kind of take a step back and be like, you know what? This is pretty real.
Yeah.
It's pretty realistic, I think.
Okay.
He's in a corner.
Let's leave off on that note. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Play through Chapter 3 neutral for next time.
Oh, what's the choice? Or is there a choice?
Well, there's not a choice now. Now you're just playing to the end of the game.
Now we're set. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So we'll see you next week. Peace out.
Bye.